Okay, so today we'll be talking about, or we'll be learning Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a CSS and Java. Okay, basically it's a CSS framework, but they also have JavaScript and jQuery code with it. So what I mean by CSS framework, it's more of a library than framework. Yeah, so let me use the word library. Bootstrap is a CSS library, and I'm going to explain what that means. CSS library in the sense that they've already written all of the CSS they think that we would need in order to build a basic website from scratch without having to write all of our CSS from scratch. So Bootstrap, as I called it, a library, yes, it's just like a collection of thousands and plenty CSS code that they've already written. So they just make it easier for us to build websites without having to write so much CSS again. So it makes the whole thing faster. For those of us that were in our live session yesterday, we noticed that it did not take us up to 10 minutes to write our HTML page, but when it got to CSS, that was like where most of the work came in. Our lines of code like doubled inside our CSS file, and also the aim of Bootstrap was like to make the whole website development process faster, and that was why they came up with Bootstrap. So I don't know, for some people that might be thinking, how do we just finish HTML, CSS and jump right straight into Bootstrap? Why don't we talk about JavaScript and all? So yeah, I know some of you have been hearing about JavaScript. So the reason is because HTML, CSS basically is what you need as the basics to start web development. JavaScript came later. It's just like to add functionality and all. So we decided to structure this course in the sense that we'll teach HTML, CSS and Bootstrap as our general course, or a general course for everybody. So even UI UX designers, front end, back end, everybody will take HTML, CSS and Bootstrap. But by the time we now get into front end, basically I think that is when we'll talk about JavaScript and even advanced JavaScript. And aside that, also I feel it's good. JavaScript is broad, so it's better we learn HTML, CSS, then Bootstrap before now going to learning JavaScript. It's better to handle easier tasks first, so that frustration will not catch you when we are learning JavaScript and you just give up and japa. So yeah, so without any much talk, I'm just going to start our class. I've introduced what Bootstrap is and what it's about and why we are learning it now. So let me just open up our project file. So I think this one was for sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. I almost forgot. Okay, please, can we all see my screen before I go on? Is my screen visible?
I can see your screen.
Alright, thank you. So moving on, I'm just going to create our project file. So this was our previous one, but basically for HTML, CSS. So I'm going to create a new folder for let me just name this Bootstrap. I'm going to open. So yeah, this is something else. If you installed VS Code, it will be I would recommend, I'll advise you to actually tick the open with checkbox, so that you can just click on your project folder and do open with code. So yeah, I've created the Bootstrap folder. I'm just going to right click and open this folder. It's VS Code. So it's loading up. So yeah, basically, if we did understand HTML and CSS, then Bootstrap is going to be pretty straightforward for us, and that is why we assigned just one day to Bootstrap. So yes, we are going to go through Bootstrap today. Like, it is that basic. But surely you still have to go back and do your own more research and all. But we are going to take you through the basics of Bootstrap. So yeah, the idea behind Bootstrap is just classes. Bootstrap used classes to make everything simpler. So instead of writing your CSS code, just make use of their class and everything works. So I'm just going to create a HTML page here, index.html. I'm going to set up our basic file structure as I always do with my shortcut !, enter. So yeah, I remember when I was talking about our meta tag in our head section, I explained only what title was meant for. So but now that we are talking about Bootstrap being a mobile first library, what I mean by mobile first library is that Bootstrap focuses on mobile first. So all their CSS code also makes it handles both desktop and mobile. So once you are using Bootstrap, you don't have to worry about writing code in desktop and writing code in mobile. So once you just make use of Bootstrap, as you're writing it in desktop, Bootstrap automatically makes sure it looks good on mobile. So yeah, that is another selling point for Bootstrap. It is a mobile first CSS library. So if you look at this meta tag here, this viewport so this viewport is a meta information that basically tells our browser that, see, the whole website should scale according to the width of the device. So that is what this meta viewport does. Content width should scale the device width. So what this means is, if it's on mobile, you should try and scale the whole content of the website to fit the mobile screen. If it's on desktop, you should make it to fit a desktop screen. This meta tag also has, the content is self-explanatory, just makes it compatible for Internet Explorer. And this first other meta tag here, character set, is just like an encoding that tells the browser the kind of character encoding our HTML page is going to make use of. But I'm not going to go into details about character encoding. It is way advanced. I don't even think they talk about it when they are teaching code tutorials. I know, this is computer science shit. So yes, I'm going to also be talking about Bootstrap 4. Sorry, I think I'm already talking too much. I'm going to be talking about Bootstrap 4. But if you want to, the latest version of Bootstrap is Bootstrap 5. But if you want to learn about Bootstrap 5, we can go and do that on our own. So why I say that I'll be teaching Bootstrap 4 is because I'm more conversant with Bootstrap 4 than 5. I've not done so much work with Bootstrap 5 yet, so I cannot go and teach what I'm not yet comfortable with. And that is why I'll be teaching Bootstrap 4. So yeah, first of all, as I mentioned, Bootstrap is a CSS library, and in order to make use of their library, we need to import their CSS code in our file. So there are two ways to import. There are two ways to import Bootstrap. One is using CDN. Second way is to download. Second way is to download their source code. So for this course, we are going to be using CDN because, first of all, what I recommend that we always use CDN, because it makes rendering faster. Because CDN means content delivery network. So their code is already hosted online. You just have to copy the link and input it here, and it makes the whole loading faster. But and makes your code less bulky. But you can also decide to download their source code if you want, but for this purpose of this course I'm going to be using CDN, but I'll also show us how we can download their source code also. So to download Bootstrap, you just have to go to their website, get Bootstrap. So the first link here is the official website of Bootstrap. So we can actually just click download, and it will take us to the where we can download their files. So if you also read what they write here, this page is basically about how you can install Bootstrap on your system, like either by downloading the source files or by using CDN via JS Deliver. So if you want to download the source files, you just have to come here, click download. If it downloads, you copy the file into your project, then you link it in your header and footer. But as I said, for the sake of this course, I'm going to be making use of the CDN. So they said to skip the download with this, to deliver cache version of Bootstrap, CSS and JS. I'm just going to copy. So I'm just going to copy the CDN link so that I will not have to download Bootstrap. So copy the CSS part and also the script part, the JS part. So it's always advised that you render, you put your scripts at the bottom of the page. I'll explain that later when we go into JavaScript, but for now we should just know that it is better we put our script at the bottom of our page. So yeah, like this, now we've linked Bootstrap to our page. So we need to test and see if it is actually working. So first thing I want to do is make use of one of the Bootstrap classes, which is container. Okay, so let me go over here and open up our file on the browser. Okay, sorry, there's nothing inside the container, so I doubt anything is going to show. So let me just put a paragraph here and generate a random text, and also let me use another Bootstrap class for background color, PG primary. So this is to test if our link or if our Bootstrap file has actually been linked to our page. So yes, it was successfully linked. So as you can see, I did not write any CSS code. Normally for this background color blue to show, I would have to go to CSS and write the file, select this particular div, go and write background color blue and all of that. But I did not write any CSS. All I had to do was write BG primary, you get, and it gave us this background of blue. So this is basically how Bootstrap works. Then container is what makes it, container class just basically gives your div that container, just packages it inside the container, you get, and this is what container does basically. So if we also wanted to span the whole page, Bootstrap also makes that possible by allowing us to make use of the container fluid class, which just basically allows it to span the whole page if you don't like the normal container. So yeah, this is like what Bootstrap is all about. So moving forward, I'm going to be teaching us some of their Bootstrap classes or all of their Bootstrap classes. But before I go into Bootstrap classes, I want to make sure nobody is left behind or nobody is confused. So if you have any questions from what I've said so far, or you just have any question at all, please, you can say something now, ask your question before I continue. Hello? Sure, go on, carry on.
Please, how do you copy and paste the shortcut for starting HTML file?
How, come again, how do I do what? Your network is okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Go on. What are you saying? Hello. Okay. So to be sure, I did not hear you clearly, but I can guess what you were trying to ask because I heard some part of what you said. So if I'm wrong, please draw my attention and correct me. I think you were trying to ask how do I copy and paste that basic that first HTML file structure. Was that your question? Hello, can you hear me? I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think I can guess what you were trying to ask. Yeah, so I think you're asking how I do copy and paste that basic HTML structure when I start writing the code. Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay. So I actually don't copy and paste. As I said, it's a feature that comes with VS Code, just like my autocomplete and all. So just to demonstrate it, let me just create a temporal file here just to show us what I do. So when you create a new file, I just type exclamation mark. So as you can see by this side, it already shows you what that exclamation mark generates. So once I type exclamation mark, I just click enter and it populates my website with the basic HTML, everything I need to start my web page. So I don't even need to start thinking about all of these meta tags here every time because I don't have to start cramming this shit. So yeah, as I see it, just write exclamation mark, it pops up, you click enter and you have your HTML structure. So understood, huh?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so moving on. And does anybody have any questions so far from what I've said in Bootstrap today? Before I continue. Okay, no one. So I'm going to go on. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we already understand the basics of Bootstrap and how Bootstrap works. So the only thing I'm going to be doing here now is like taking us through some Bootstrap classes, like the most basic Bootstrap classes that will most likely use on a daily basis. Then we can go back and learn about some more Bootstrap classes on our own. So first of all, I've already showed us the container class, the container fluid class. Those two are like container classes to help us contain our document. So that is it for containers. I also showed us background class. Bootstrap has different background colorings, or let me not use background, it has different colorings per se. So their coloring format is in like, I don't know how many they are, but I'm just going to list them. We have the primary, which is blue. We have sources, which is green. We have danger, which is red. We have info, which is yellow, I think. We have warning, which is orange. What else? We have secondary. Is is this secondary? What else? We have dark, which is black. We have light, which is white. We have muted, which is gray. So why I just named them like this is because it works for both background and text. So let's test all of these out and see. We've already used primary, and as you can see, it's showing blue. Let's use BG success, and we'll see that it has changed to green. Let's use BG danger, and as you can see, it changes to red. Let's use BG info, and it has changed to blue. So I guess this is where I got it. Light blue, I'll be cyan. But yeah, basically that is what BG info is, not yellow. I don't know what that color is. We have BG warning. Yeah, I guess BG warning is the yellow color instead. Then we have dark, light, and muted. So that is it for background. This also works with text. So let me write text danger here. This basically affects our text. So there is difference between background. Background colors the background. Text affects the actual text. So you can use their color combinations for text also. So let me change the background to light so that we can see our text colors. So let me use primary here. So as you can see, our text is now blue. Let me use success. Our text is now green. So yeah, this is basically it with Bootstrap. But the next thing I want to go into now is Bootstrap grid layout in Bootstrap. So the grid layout is one of or layout system generally in web development is a very crucial topic, a very crucial concept. I know we spoke about flex when we were doing CSS, and we did not have enough time to go into grid, or rather I told us to go and learn about grid. But in the actual sense, grid and flex do the same thing, just in a different way. So I don't know if we actually went back to learn about grid on our own or not, but now coming into Bootstrap, we are going to talk about the grid layout system with Bootstrap. So Bootstrap makes the whole layout system super easy, and you don't have to even write any CSS. Build your very sweet layout with Bootstrap, and under few minutes, like what we built in our session yesterday, we can use Bootstrap and build it under like 10 to 15 minutes, no stress. So I'm going to explain the Bootstrap grid system now. So basically, the grid system of Bootstrap works like tables. So if you understand how tables work, then it will be very easy for us to work with Bootstrap. So the grid system, as just like tables, works with rows and columns. So if you want to create a very sweet layout in Bootstrap using the grid system, you have to make use of rows and columns. So to demonstrate the Bootstrap grid system, I'm just going to create a very simple layout system here so that we can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, to do that, first of all, let me come in here, clean this. First of all, to start with our Bootstrap grid system, we have to make use of the class row. So I'll create a div, write our class, and name it row. So just like in our CSS, we use display flex to tell our browser, or to tell the browser that see the content inside of this div it should be laid out using flex layout, or we'll use display grid to tell the system that okay, this every content inside of this div should take the grid system layout. That is for CSS, but Bootstrap has already done all of those things for us, so we don't need to write all those things in CSS. We just come here and write row. So using this class row has already notified, or we treat every other thing that we'll be written inside here as grid. If we want to make use of flex instead, we use the class dflex. Then everything inside of this div will be treated as a flex system. So, but I'm going to be teaching us rows for now. Later I'll go into flex, or yeah, maybe we should go and learn flex on our own, Bootstrap flex. So I'm just going to teach us Bootstrap rows for now. So yeah, we have our row. Then as I said, it works with rows and columns. The next thing we need to do is create our columns. So write div and class column. So let me just put this here. Column 1. Let me copy all of this. Column 2. Column 3. So for us to actually see the difference in all of these columns, I'm going to give them different backgrounds so that we'll see what is going on here. So I'll give this one a background of primary, give this one a background of info, give this one a background of warning. So let's refresh our page and see. So like that is basically it. If we had to use CSS to do all of this, like we all know the amount of code we would have written to do this, but with Bootstrap we just created a div, gave it a class of row, then created 3 columns inside that row, which made it align like this. Then we just gave them 3 different backgrounds. So we should look at this again. This row makes it to treat everything inside of it as a grid system. They will now use COL to identify the columns. So yeah, this is the basics of Bootstrap grid. So now I'm going to go further into Bootstrap grids, which is sizing our columns. So making use of just this column class, Bootstrap will just like automatically share the space amongst them. So as you can see now, they all have equal spacing. So if I add a 4th column here, the rest, sorry about that, if I add a 4th column here, everything will adjust to accommodate the 4th column. So let me change this to danger. Everything will accommodate to a 4th we adjust to accommodate the 4th column, and that is how it continue to be. But then there's a point to note: the highest number of columns that can be in a grid row or in a Bootstrap grid row is 12 columns. 12 columns is the highest number of columns that can be in a grid row. And now, having that idea of 12 columns, we can now use that to size our Bootstrap columns. So since every Bootstrap row can accommodate 12 columns, meaning these 4 columns are like shared or are sharing that 12 column spaces per se. Let me explain further. This one is sharing 3 column spaces, this is sharing 3 column spaces, this is sharing 3 column spaces, this is sharing 3 column spaces, which if you add 3 together, it's 4 column spaces. So to make this more understandable, I'm going to come and do something for us to see. So let me now add the sizing here. Use 4 column spaces, sorry, 3 column spaces, as I mentioned. 3 column spaces, 3 column spaces, and 3 column spaces. So as you can see, nothing changed because yeah, it is correct. But if I add 4 here, for instance, let's see what happens. This fourth column comes back because it is now more than 12. Like if you add everything together, it surpasses the 12 column spaces that every grid row can accommodate. So knowing this sizing mechanism, we can now size our grid system. So we can size all of this inside a row anyhow, give them different sizes as long as we don't exceed 12. So let me give this one 2, give this one 4, give this one 3, give this one 3. If you calculate this, this is 4 6 6 3 3, which is complete 12. So it aligns, but the only difference now is this one has 2, which is the smallest. This column occupies 4 grids and 4 column spaces. That is why it is the biggest. This column occupies 3 column spaces, 3 column spaces, and that is why both of them are equal. So we can also resize them as much as we want. Let me give this first 2 1 column spaces, and give this one 2 1. So we have 1 2 3. The remaining column spaces we have is 9. So as you can see, this last column here takes over 9 column spaces, while these other 3 are made to manage 1 column spaces. So yeah, this is basically how grid system works. And I also made mention of responsiveness, like mobile first approach in Bootstrap. Now, to make this system mobile friendly or more mobile compatible, Bootstrap also made it easy for us by adding an extra I'll call it parameter to our column spaces. So in the middle here, between the column and the space, we can now add the screen size that we want. So for instance, let's say, and the screen sizes we have in Bootstrap, the screen sizes we have in Bootstrap are SXM, SM, MD, LG, LSG. So this stands for extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. So all of these things, did I just write all of these things again? Medium, large, extra large. So yeah, this, anytime you add this to your class, it basically makes that class apply to that particular element. If it's in a very small screen, this is applied to small screens. This means applied to medium screens. This means applied to large screens like desktop. So medium and large basically applies to, you know, smaller size laptops and larger size laptops. Then extra large are like way large screens, like big desktop screens and all. So yeah, I'm just going to demonstrate this here so that we can all see. So for now Bootstrap is just going to use by itself to realign this thing in mobile. So let me just change this. Let me just change this to mobile. I'm sorry, let me show us how I go here. I right clicked on the screen and you click inspect element. This is how you can get here, but I used a shortcut which is Ctrl+Shift+I. Ctrl+Shift+I to get here. So yeah, as you can see, everything here is basically how will I put it, kind of jam-packed together. But to make these things look finer on small screen like this, let's now come and put in the class for smaller screens. So let's say we'll say for this first column we are going to write a class for small screens, make this first column occupy 6 column spaces, and I'm now going to copy this and apply it to all of them. So let me refresh the page. Let me see if there is something I'm doing wrong here. Okay, let me see if I have to remove this first of all. Okay. Okay, something fishy is going on here. So give me a minute. Let's use. It's applying this SN to small screen instead. So let me make use of column extra small, column xn 6. Let me also apply that to the rest of our page. Let's see. So apparently it does not change, and I don't know why. I have no idea why that is so. Okay, let me remove this one and see. Well, anyways, I'm going to show us a different different application to screen sizes so that we would understand it. I don't know why this one in particular is acting up today. It's column 6, column 6. Column 6. Oh, so that was my mistake. So yeah, basically I think there is not even an extra small. I used to write extra small myself. So yeah, to style smaller pages, you just have to make use of just column. You just have to make use of just column. So it will take 6 if it's in a small screen, and also take 6 if it's in a larger screen. But let me increase this to 4, so that we'll see the difference on small screen and large screen. So this is let me make this medium. So on small screen, each column takes 6 spaces, which is 6 6 12 6 6 12. But in large screen, when we come to large screen, we will now see that it now takes 4 column spaces, 4 4 4, which is 12, then 4. So let me make all of this to be 3, so that it will be completely 12. So on large screen, they will each take 3 column spaces. That's why it's showing like this. But when we come on smaller screen, they will all take 6 6 column spaces. So yeah, basically that is how screen sizing works in Bootstrap and all. So lastly, I'm also going to talk about nested grid system. I'm going to talk about nested grid system. As nested already sounds, nested means putting grid system inside of grid system. So yeah, let me remove this too. Let me remove this and make this 6. So now we have 2 columns here. I can also nest another set of grid system inside one of these columns. So that's what I'm going to do, just that. I'm going to come inside here, do div, and create another grid system by calling the class row. So take note, I'm inside of this first column, I'm creating another grid system or grid layout row. So inside here now, I want to have 3 columns. Class colon MD4. So let me use paragraph and say sub colon 1 sub colon 2 sub colon 3. So as you can see, inside of this first column I created another grid system that now has 3 extra sub columns. Get. So we can also apply that screen sizing to these sub columns and all. And yes, as you might, in case you are asking, you can still create another nested grid layouts here and more, and continue going. So basically you can use the grid system to structure your whole website. So as I'm just going to do a very simple structure here so that we would understand how very well we can apply this. So let me just do div here, give this a class of okay, I'm going to call this nav, give this a class of row, then give it a background of primary, bg primary. So then let me write something here so that just to be sure something is inside. Yeah, so we have this. Then let me now come and do another div here, class row again. Let me give this one bg. Okay, let me not give background here. Let me create 2 columns inside of this row, class column md8, and now write content here. Come here, create another column md. What is left is 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Then write aside here. So let me give this a back bg of warning, bg of info. So yeah, let me copy this whole row, put here, and name this danger, and call this footer back, bg of danger. So yeah, this is basically how website structure is. Yeah, it looks whack, but this is how the basic structure usually is. We have our nav bar, then we have our main content, then we now have maybe a side content, then we now have our footer. So from this basic structure we can structure our whole website and start make it into whatever we want. So yeah, I'm going to come back to us and I'm open up the floor for any questions you might have from what I've said so far, before I go on and just talk about a few more bootstrap classes with our remaining 10 minutes. So is there any question, or are there any questions? Any question? I'll be all of us understood what I've been blabbing so far. Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no question. So yeah, I think so far so good with what I've explained. I think we should be able to build up a very simple structure using Bootstrap. Even that that live session we did yesterday, using this we should be able to replicate it using Bootstrap without having to write any single CSS. Well, not exactly any single CSS. We might have to write a few customizations with CSS, but lesser CSS code than what we did yesterday. So moving ahead from Bootstrap grid system, I've already told us about the coloring combination. I've showed us background, and I've also showed us text, which is text, colors and all. What else? Okay, bootstrap tables. To create tables in bootstrap, let me clean all of this up. To create table in bootstrap, all you basically have to do is write div and use the class table. So when you use the class table, just come inside of your table class and create your table. Sorry, this is supposed to be table. Yeah, you use your table class and give it a class of table. So anything you do inside here, Bootstrap is just going to basically give you a sweet styling. So let's just create our table rows and columns. T head 1, 2, 3. TD 1. So let's see how this shows up. So yeah, so this is basically Bootstrap tabling system. So there are more table functionalities from Bootstrap. We also have strip rows. We just write table stripped, and as you can see, Bootstrap gives us a fine coloring. Bootstrap also provides us with something like table hover, and if we hover on any column, you see that the color changes and all. So you can also go back and learn more on more Bootstrap table classes and all. So also there is something else we did yesterday when we talked about borders, paddings and margins. That is CSS box model. So Bootstrap also makes makes provisions for all of those things. So let me create my container again, and let me come over here and create a simple text. Let me give it background of primary again. So refreshing the page, this is what we have. But let's say we want to add margin on top here to like create space above it. Instead of going to our CSS file to write margin top, Bootstrap just helps us with empty, which is margin top. They will now write the amount of space we want to give. So if I write margin top 5, it's going to give us a whole 5 spaces. So Bootstrap spacing here works from 1 to 5. So if we put empty 1, it's going to be a little bit very small, that is the smallest. Empty 2 is going to be increasing up to 25. So just like there is margin top, we also have margin right, which is MR. We also have margin bottom, MB, margin left, ML. And same with margin, we also have padding left, which is P5, padding top, padding right, and padding bottom. So yeah, as you can see, it created padding here. So let me put padding top also. It created padding top and bottom. So in Bootstrap also there are shorthands. So instead of writing padding bottom and padding top together, since they are the same value, you can just use PY, which is like how our y-axis used to be in physics. PY will affect both up and down. So PY will give padding to both top and bottom. Same with MY. MY5 is going to give margin to both top and bottom. So which is for top and bottom. Then we can do the same thing for left and right. That one is X, just like how our X and Y works. So px is going to give padding to the left and right now. So as you can see, we now have padding here and padding here. Mx is going to do the same thing. Or you will not see any much difference because there was already space here before. So yeah, that is it for margin paddings. So I'm also going to talk about border. I remember when I did a rounded border yesterday using border radius in CSS. In Bootstrap, you can just make use of the rounded class, which has now given our box a curve. And I remember someone also asking about how to create circles. I think Bootstrap also makes provision for that by using rounded circles. So yeah, this is a circle, but it looks weird because of the amount of the content in it. So let me just clear all of this and see if it's going to look better. I would have to make sure I make the width and height equal for it to actually have, look like a complete circle. So yeah, that is it for that. Let me see what other thing can I chip in before our 2 minutes elapse. Okay, I guess then just open it up for questions. Do we have any questions? Is there any confusion about Bootstrap? Anything you want to see? Contribution before we just close up for today and call it a night or a day? Anybody? Any question? Does anybody have any question? Okay, well, I guess it's a no. So thank you all for being present. Thank you all for coming. I hope we all understood what was said today. So yeah, as I said, this is basically intro to Bootstrap. Just talked about the basics and all. I'll still advise us to go and research more to learn about more Bootstrap classes by ourselves. And if we have any confusion, if we are confused while learning, you can always reach out to any of the admins and we will be happy to respond to you. So additionally, all the classes for this week has already been set up. So all you have to do is go to the events. If you come up, I think you guys are seeing my screen. If you come to the above the channels, we'll see events. So all of our classes till Friday has already been set up, and check down here for the specific class. So this class now, which is on Wednesday by 8 p.m. is for UI UX. This GitHub and this Git and GitHub overview class is in the general classroom, so it's for both front end and back end. So these two classes will be going on simultaneously while UI UX are taking their class. Front end and back end will be taking their class on GitHub and Git. So these two classes will hold on Wednesday. Then we now have three separate classes going on Friday. So UI UX, front end and back end will all be having classes separately on Friday. So yeah, I would advise us to always check this event section, mark interested, so that you'll be notified anytime any of these classes come up. So once again, thank you all for coming, and see you all in our next class. Have a good night. Bye.
The class we are available for tomorrow.
You see?
The recorded class. Will it be available before tomorrow?
You mean this one we just did?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure, it will. It will upload it this night. You know where to check it, yeah?
Yeah, YouTube.
Alright. Okay then.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.